Hello and welcome back to Sunrider Liberation Day Return. Right, second day, and it's taken all of about 5 or 6 hours since it was released before somebody actually created a guide. So I'm going to be shameless and use that guide, so thank you very much Steam user Mindful Ocean for your guide. So, as I say, if you have a problem with me using a guide, don't worry, the first one was completely blind. This time, however, I'm going for specific results. You know, since I've got 2 days, so record one today, one tomorrow. You know, and I think that'll be a reasonable showing for this this one, you know, rather than getting excessive. But this one is, as the video will be labelled, going to be the Sola one. And then tomorrow I'm going to try and record the Claude ending, just because I can. So, yeah. Let us begin once again. From the moment humanity began to unravel the mysterious quantum technology, scientists and emperors alike became obsessed with the singular technology. During the search for this holy grail, countless other findings which would come to aid greatly and terrorize humanity were discovered. The warp drive, warheads which could level entire continents, faster-than-light communications, and even a massive doomsday weapon which could extinguish entire stars. The paradox core. But all those powers were irrelevant next to what would be possible with the holy grail, a time machine. In its most simple application, one could undo past mistakes. If an action ended up causing an adverse reaction later in time, one could simply travel back to before, when the action was made, and react differently, with the benefit of hindsight. The full implications of such a device were still far more awesome. One could stop aging, freeze time for everyone else but oneself, and perform an unlimited number of actions while everyone else was frozen. Translocate other people and objects anywhere, at any time. Become older, become younger. Given infinite amount of time, one could become anyone and accomplish anything. By no exaggeration, someone with a time machine would not be a human, but a god. Alice Ashada pondered those thoughts as she walked through the diode cloning facility. Her steps took her to a familiar location, her old office. So, even this detail has been recreated exactly as before. It was here, where for the merest sliver of a second she brushed her fingers against that almighty power. The Paradox Project. The galaxy's greatest and most dangerous minds had gathered here in the furthest corner of the galaxy to finally attain what had eluded humanity for so long. They were exiled Alliance researchers, new Imperial scientists deemed too dangerous even for the tyrants of New Eden. But attempt after attempt, year after year, they had failed to produce results. Computations done through their best superior computers and artificial intelligences failed to yield breakthroughs. It was then, when they realized such knowledge was beyond comprehension of mere humans, they needed to create a new race, capable of thought processes beyond the capacity of even the most gifted of Homo sapiens. First, a prototype was created, Alice Ashada. They watched her, raised her as one of their own, even gave her the surname of the director of the Paradox Project, who had assumed the role of her father. But it was all a lie! Humans created me for their own ends, tossed me away the moment I fulfilled my use. The prototype produced some promising results, accomplishing what supercomputers and the galaxy's best minds could not. Alex successfully translocated molecules by fractions of a second. A breakthrough, produced even before the artificial girl had turned 16. Using the lessons learned from the prototype, the Alpha was finally created. Alice's teeth clenched. Those scum created my sister and I, just so we could be tools in their search to become gods. But I stopped their plans. I saved the both of us. The prototype proved far more difficult to control than her creators had believed. She accidentally discovered the truth of her existence. Her belief that she was a normal human girl who lived with her caring parents in a research station was shattered that day. The first of the many pieces of her sanity which would break the following day. Yes, it was here, when I struck down my father with my very hands. What else could I do? I was merely a test run. They were going to toss me away like an obsolete machine. I had no choice. I was going to rescue my sister, escape this prison. But Alice's life did not have such a happy conclusion. My sister. Alpha's voice disturbed Alice, and her younger sister approached her. Alpha touched Alice's eye with her index finger. A single droplet of a tear ran down her finger as she wiped Alice's eye. Your thoughts, they are bleak. Alice turned around, putting her back to her sister. She closed off her mind so her younger sister would not see the depths of her madness. Why do you retreat to the abyss so? Soon we shall control all of humanity under our grasp. We will rule to those who sought to control us. Our spy continues to make great inroads in controlling the would-be savior of humanity, the mighty Captain Shields. If he continues to follow our plan, then both the Alliance and Pact will unify, and when the Ebon Fleet arrives, he will rally the galaxy against humanity's greatest threat. And as a result of that conflict, he will become not merely captain, but something far more powerful. And with his greatest love, our proxy controlling him, we will rule the galaxy from the shadows, constantly leading him down the path we desire. Such is our destiny, no? We were created to be greater than them. No. Human filth. Savages. The galaxy would do better if every last trace of them were wiped from existence. Suddenly, Alpha embraced her sister from behind. It will not be long, my sister. You have suffered, but I seek to create a universe where we can finally be safe. Yes. A galaxy where we can be safe. Alice stiffly touched her sister's hand. And I will go and create that. This is the only way. My sister is yet naive. She does not understand the threat the humans pose. Alice took her sister's arms off her and walked away by herself. I will return to the front lines, and I am taking that with me. That accursed machine. I will need her for what is to come. Be safe, my sister. I shall return, and when I do, the galaxy shall have changed. And with that, Alice Ashada walked into the shadows. Shields tossed and turned in his sleep. Vivid images flashed in his mind. This was different from other nightmares. The ones he would have had of blood-soaked faces at Ongus, where that young girl would die again and again and again. He would see her pick up the knife every time, but despite knowing what was going to happen, his body would be paralyzed. Then her face would morph into his sister. Ray. You killed me. No. No, tonight's nightmare was different. Images flashed by, too quick to decipher, but something horrible had happened. No, will happen! He was going to make a horrible mistake. Suddenly, he jolted awake. He realized he was in his bed. He shook his head, relieved he was just having a nightmare. Wait a minute. He felt someone sleeping beside him. What the hell? Shields spun round and pulled the cover off his bed, revealing a certain pink-haired doctor nestled up next to him. Shields leapt from his bed and stood upright as a steel rod, eyeing Claude with outrage. Certainly he'd known the ship's doctor would go to almost any lengths to molest him, but to actually break into his quarters after hours? Besides, his room was locked with the strongest encryption protocol on board the ship. Ikari had seen to it that this door would not get broken into ever again. Just how did this buffoon of a doctor get in here? For a moment, he tried to recall if he'd been drinking heavily in the mess hall before arriving at his quarters. No doubt this lecherous doctor would have used such a lapse in his defences to latch onto him, and beside... Okay. Thankfully, he recalled that he had merely been filling out paperwork the whole night. Sorry. Late night. Before finally deciding he had had enough and resigned himself to listening to Ava's lectures in the morning. Claude opened her eyes with a yawn. Ah, good morning. Good. How did you bypass security and get in here? Oh. Claude stood from the bed, her hair a mess. Ah, it was such a pitiful sight, Captain. Looking at your sleep-deprived face every day. As ship's doctor, I had to do something to remedy your sleep disorder. Stat! Of course, the best remedy would be a contented deep sleep after pounding your white-hart vanguard into the woman of your dreams. So I, Claude Trilio, stepped up to the task. You can use this body in however manner you desire. Your acting medical officer is ready to serve under, above, in front, and behind you, Captain. Shields rubbed his face in irritation. The conversation obviously was not going anywhere. Just... cut it out. I'm asking you to tell me what you're doing here. Well, I'm sure it'll become clear soon enough. What? As if on cue, Shields heard the door to his cabin open. The hell? He quickly knelt down behind his bed. If there was another intruder in his office, then it would mean that the security protocols on his door had failed entirely. He still had bad memories of what had happened the last time someone had broken into his room, and he wasn't about to take any chances this time. He quietly reached into his closet and withdrew a concealed pistol. He signalled to Claude to hide behind him. Shields grimaced when Claude gripped onto him from the behind, her massive boobs leaving 2 impressions on his back, and she whispered in his ear, Captain, actually the gun won't be necessary. And how do you know that? But because... Suddenly Shields heard Chigara's voice upstairs. Chigara? What was she doing in his office at this time? Granted, someone as talented as her could easily crack Akara's security protocols, but why would she... Suddenly, he felt something tear through his psyche, as if a bullet had just gone through his temple. Chigara, she... But what he saw next completely shattered the remaining pieces of his mind. Come on, before the commander sees us. It was him. Shields watched, his jaws agape, as his identical clone took Chigara's hand and plopped her on top of his lap on his desk. What was going on? Even though his first instinct was to barge into Chigara and his clone's little romantic rendezvous, gun in hand, and demand answers, his training kept him firmly hidden and looking for an escape route. He racked his brain for a possible explanation for this bizarre turn of events. Could this be some packed plot? Did they embed a spy wearing a holomask to impersonate him? No, that would never work. Anyone boarding the ship was subject to a full DNA scan. Then, could it be the prototypes? That seemed a possibility. There was a massive army of clones. They could have acquired his DNA somewhere. All it would take to breed a second Kato Shields would be a strand of his hair left somewhere unwittingly by him. But it would still take a lifetime of training for a clone to successfully imitate him. And there was no way someone as intimate with him as Chigara would fall for a trick that easy. He had to calm his racing mind. For now, he had to escape detection and alert ship security or something. He racked his brain for what the proper protocol for dealing with a doppelganger of the ship's captain was, but for some reason he couldn't remember being taught anything about it during his training at the Space Force Academy. Perhaps he'd slept through that one. Of course, the ship's design had left open a number of secret escape routes he could use to leave this room. A warship was inherently a dangerous locality, so a large number of concealed passages always crisscrossed the ship so that the crew could not be stranded in the event the ship lost structural integrity. Shields slowly opened his closet and tore off the carpeting below, exposing an access gate to a tunnel leading to Deck Zero. And to his relief, the gate still accepted his commands after he swiped the ID chip located on his sleeve on the security scanner. He opened the gate and motioned for Claude to follow him. I'm sorry about yawning. It was free fencing night last night and I'm a bit knackered as a result. After climbing down the tunnel, the pair dropped down from the ceiling onto the floor of the hallway. Shields immediately turned to Claude and interrogated her for answers. Seems like you have a better idea than I do about just what in hell's name is going on here. I want answers, Doctor. Well, this is a surprise. You don't remember anything. I can remember everything just fine. I am Captain Kato Shields of the assault carrier Sunrider. We arrived at Sarah yesterday to take part in the critical operation to liberate our homeworld from Pact Loyalist forces in conjunction with the Alliance Combined Fleet. Ah, but can you remember what happened after that? After we arrived at Sarah, I spoke with the rider team in the mess hall, and then I returned to my office to do some paperwork, and the next thing I knew I was in bed with you. So you have no memory of what happened after the operation? What the hell are you talking about? How would I know what happened after? The operation hasn't even begun yet. It appears you're suffering from some memory loss thanks to your first temporal translocation. Don't worry, in a few hours all your memories of what happened will return. Shields' brain spun at a disturbingly high frequency at what Claude was implying. Temporal translocation? Memory loss? He'd known Claude was a dit, but this was on an entirely different level from her usual antics. There was no question something out of the galaxy was happening, though. He just witnessed his body double flirting with Chigara as if it was the most casual thing in the world. He closed his eyes and tried his best to remember just how he'd gotten here. Those images again. Bloody flashes of horror flashed in his head. He had no idea where they took place or when. But somehow he knew that Chigara was involved. Those aren't just images, they're memories, aren't they? Ah, did you remember something, Captain? A massacre. Everything we worked for destroyed. Horror. Well, knowing that much, I guess I can fill you in about the rest. 3 days from now, a disaster will occur at Sarah, which will thrust humanity into a war so devastating it will make the Neutral Rim War look like a mere playground scuffle in comparison. I'm sure you already have a premonition, but Chigara will be the catalyst who will spark that disaster. I've brought you here to rewrite the past, to prevent that disaster from occurring. Once again, S.H.I.E.L.D.'s head received another bombshell of a revelation. Was what Claude was saying even possible? Bring him back to rewrite the past? But something like that was impossible. Suddenly more memories played back in his head. So you're telling me Claude is a time traveller? No. Far more than that. If such an entity could be given a name, then the closest description of her would be Claude is a god. Shields rubbed his spinning head and fought back to the mounting nausea. While his understanding of what had or will happen was still foggy, like trying to recall a dream he'd seen months ago, Claude's seemingly impossible explanation seemed validated by what fragmentary memories still retained. Okay then, look. We alert ship security and then detain Chigara. Problem solved, right? Actually, Captain. He shook his head at his own naivete. Of course. Resolving this was not going to be that simple. For all intents and purposes, the Kato shields hitting on Chigara in his office right now was the captain everyone accepted in this timeline. If he revealed himself now, he would be the one to get detained and questioned. And given his doppelganger's infatuation with the chief, he doubted convincing him that she was a spy would be so easy, especially from inside a brig cell. The fact he had less than 72 hours to stop the massacre meant he couldn't afford to risk getting confined in the brig for the duration of the coming battle. He had to take a more covert approach. No, the proper protocol in such a situation would be to confine the captain's doppelganger to the brig for further questioning, which, to everyone in this timeline, would be me. We can't afford to blow our cover. We'll have to approach this differently. We recruit one person to help us, someone we can trust. Then the three of us work from the shadows to prevent the disaster from occurring. Oh, I see. Understood, Captain. Then who shall we recruit to our cause? He gave that question a long thought. That person would have to be... Yes, as I said, I am following a rather useful guide that has been knocked up by somebody on the Steam forum, so again, thank you, Mindful Ocean. So, I think I'm going to follow the Sola route on this one. And the one I record tomorrow, incidentally, is going to be the Claude secret route, in case you're wondering. So, Sola today. The only person who would ever believe this crazy story would be a fellow time traveller. Sola. She was the most knowledgeable about lost technology, and out of everyone on the ship, from what he could remember, Sola was the one who told him the truth about Claude, meaning he had less to explain to Sola compared to the others. We're going to our resident lost technology expert. Come on, let's go find Sola. Okay, Captain. T-minus 63 hours until the Liberation Day massacre. 27 until Chigara enters the mine stream. Shields peered into Sola's quarters to check whether she was alone. Thankfully, he found her sitting by herself on a table, reading a holo. Psst! Sola! Ah. She looked up with curiosity at her unexpected visitor. Sorry for interrupting, but we kind of have an emergency here. Is that so? Yeah? Okay, this is going to be sudden, but look. I already know that you and Claude are time travellers. In fact, I'm a time traveller myself now. I've arrived from the future after you've explained all this. There's another Kato Shields in my office right now, who's the captain you know in this timeline. and we've travelled back in time from the future to prevent a disaster from occurring. 3 days from now, after we've successfully liberated Sarah, a mass assassination will occur during the victory celebration, where the entire top Alliance military leadership will be murdered by Chigara, a prototype sleeper agent. We had to do everything in our power to prevent that tragedy from occurring, or else it'll spark a war between the Solar Alliance and Pact so huge that it'll threaten an end to humanity as we know it. Sola took in every word he said wordlessly, not even a flicker of doubt in her face. Again, I'm sorry about all the yawning. Understood. I shall aid you in this endeavour. She closed her holo and stood. Shield sighed in relief, and he knew that Sola was cool-headed, but to actually see her readily accepting his ridiculous story without even a trace of doubt brought unspeakable relief to Shield's mind. Maybe they had her. Without warning, Sola rolled to the floor and reached under her bunk. Before Shields could make a move, Sola faced Claude with a pistol in her hand. Shields tensed. Shit! Had he relaxed too soon? What was going on? Captain, this woman is not who you think. Sola? She is working with the prototypes. Shields backed away from Claude upon hearing this latest revelation. What? Come to think of it, he knew next to nothing about Claude, except for what he could glean from the fragmented memories of the future. Why did she send it back to the past? What was her goal here? Doc? Is Sola telling the truth? Partially, yes. The Claude trio currently in this universe is aligned with the prototypes, yes. But that was me in the past. Poor Claude's turned over a new leaf now. I'm fighting for the good guys. Wait, you mean there's another Claude too? Yeah, just like your doppelganger in your office. There's another Claude in the sickbay right now. Well, that complicates things. Look, I need answers, Doctor. Why were you working for the prototypes during this time period? Oh, a simple alignment of interests, that's all. I sought to rally the galaxy around you, just like the prototypes. And after the Liberation Day massacre occurred, I realized our interests diverged. That's when I left the prototypes and took matters into my own hands. Prototypes wanted what? Yes, they sought to make you the leader of humanity. I had to control you as a puppet so they would rule in your stead, but... let's just say that plan never quite panned out, due to the division within the prototypes themselves. That's quite a lot to take in. I was fine with helping the prototypes accomplish that, but... well, then the massacre happened. Okay, following our guideline, we apparently shouldn't be trusting her. Is what we should apparently be doing, so... I don't trust you yet, but... we're still going to have to work together. Oh, the captain doesn't trust poor Claude. Doc, you have been mysterious from the moment you set foot on this ship. You're probably acting with an ulterior motive. Just like you always have in the past. Oh, sorry. I had a mental blank there. Sola, you can put the gun down. No matter the circumstances, we're going to have to solve this together. We don't have the time to fight amongst ourselves. Understood. Sola put the gun down but kept it holstered just in case. For now, our common goal is to prevent the Liberation Day massacre from occurring. We can worry about who was working for who after the immediate crisis has been averted. Now, he had to put their next course of action into motion. Fortunately, he hadn't given this parchment thought himself. It looked like he would just have to come up with something on the fly, based on the fragmented memories he had and the chain of events which led to the Liberation Day massacre. Look, Chigara will enter the prototype's mindstream tomorrow, during the battle for Sarah, and it will be at that moment when the prototype's leader will embed herself into Chigara's mind, in order to control the mind of her mind during the victory celebration. We must take every action to ensure that Chigara does not enter the mindstream. Seems like a simple enough solution. And from what I can remember, Chigara, as she is now, would be utterly incapable of killing a single insect, much less a roomful of people. The sole cause of Chigara's actions that day was her body being controlled by the leader of the prototypes, who would all presume to have died upon the Nightmare Ascendant. If we simply prevent Chigara from being mind-controlled, then the massacre would never happen. I see. Then we must capture her within 24 hours, and ensure she does not enter the mindstream tomorrow. However, The entire situation is not so elegant as simply removing Chigara from action during the Battle of Serra, as that may vastly alter the course of history as well. Sola has a point. In fact, our ultimate liberation of Serra hinged on Chigara entering the mine stream to release Fontana's fleet from the control of the prototypes, which is precisely the thing we were now trying to prevent. Meaning we have to find another way to ensure that Fontana can retain control of his fleet tomorrow, without Chigara. Alright, we'll just have to make up the plan as we go. Unfortunately, I was dropped into this timeline about 2 hours ago, so we don't have much time to formulate a detailed course of action. Very well. I shall see what can be done to limit the Chief's movements, without rousing her suspicions. First, we must head to research and development. The lab? Why? Sola leaned into him and whispered, I merely sought to distract the doctor's attention for a moment, while I discussed a certain matter with you. There is still a large problem. Problem? What kind of problem? The future cannot be changed so easily. What do you mean? But before Sola could continue, the ship's klaxon sounded. Red alert! The packed fleet has made its move! Ah, not now. Alas, I must sortie. Okay, we don't have a choice. You've got to protect the ship, Sola. Captain, we'd best make ourselves scarce. The real you's supposed to be on the bridge. If you get discovered anywhere else during this battle. Alright, let's go. The three of them ran out of the quarters. Fair! No! I shall return. Yep! Sola, come back safely. Shield's recollection was coming back. It was about this time when the packed fleet advanced, choosing to launch a frontal attack, using their riders to decimate the Alliance's shield cruisers, so that their battleships could whittle down the Alliance fleet from a distance with laser attacks. Everything was happening exactly as before. He heard Ava's voice over the shipwide intercom. Attention all hands, battle stations, the packed fleet is approaching our position. Oh, we can't let the crew see you here. Claude opened a maintenance tunnel and crawled inside. In here, hurry! Despite knowing that another Kato Shields was no doubt rushing to the bridge right now, he couldn't help but feel like a pathetic coward crawling inside a maintenance tunnel to hide from the battle. No, my place was on the bridge. I have to protect everyone. Finally, his better senses regained control of his emotions. No, he just had to leave that up to Sola and the rest of the crew. He wasn't going to protect anyone by marching to the bridge right now. Shield swallowed his pride and crawled into the maintenance shaft. Claude shut the gate, swallowing the two of them in darkness. All Shields could hear was the pounding of his heart. Sweat dripped from his eyebrows, tickling his nose and filling his mouth with the taste of sulphur. In a surreal moment he heard his own voice over the intercom. All hands, prepare for anti-rider combat! Shortly afterwards, the dull drumbeat of the Sunrider's flak guns echoed through the tunnel. The hull creaked as shrapnel from intercepted missiles harmlessly bounced off the ship's armour. Every passing moment felt like torture. Shields had grown so accustomed to being in command that the idea of being helpless, trapped inside a hole, churned his stomach. He closed his eyes and prayed that Sola would be safe. He would always be able to see the Seraphim on the battle map. When things get too dicey, he would be able to order her to turn around. But what would the Kato Shields on the floor of this bridge do right now? Did he even care for her as he did? Suddenly, Ava's shrill voice on the intercom broke into his thoughts. All hands, brace for impact! Shields did his best to grip the walls of the tunnel, but was still thrown completely to the flat of his face against the massive shockwave. The tunnel bent and fuses burst, covering him with sparks. He knew the sensation. A hit of that size could only mean a packed battleship's quantum torpedo had got past their flak net, scored a direct hit. God damn it, what the hell was that buffoon on the bridge doing? He wiped the blood from his lips and pulled himself up. Smoke seeped from the gate, meaning the hallway outside was now on fire. Shields cautiously opened the gate by a sliver and peeked outside, only to come face to face with a raging inferno. Crewmen pulled flame retardant hoses from the walls and struggled to put out the fire. Shields spotted a technician lying on the floor nearby, his uniform matted with blood, and as the fire approached him, threatening to swallow him whole. If I jump out now, I can save him. I have to do something, but it would mean blowing my cover. Save him. I'm still the captain of this ship. I can't hide in this hole like some coward when my crewmen are risking their lives out there. And with that, Shields pushed the gate open and left the tunnel. Ah, Captain, where are you? I'm not letting a member of this ship die. Captain! Ignoring Claude's protest, Shields pulled a hose from the wall and battled flames, which were fast approaching the wounded technician. When Shields finally reached him, he knelt down and checked his vitals. Still alive. Good. Shields hoisted the technician up and carried him towards the other crew. Captain? The deckhand's eyes widened in shock as the captain of the ship emerged from the flames and passed him an unconscious crewman. "Make sure he gets to sickbay. That's an order, sailor." The deckhand's trainee took control and he snapped to attention. "Sir!" Shields gritted his teeth. He had to lead the damage control operations here. Without warning, the ship shook again. This time he heard the sound of mechanical soaring as if something was cutting through the hull of the ship. What the... Suddenly, the ceiling gave way and a hunter drone dropped down, spraying the hall with bullets. Right, that's a reasonable moment to end this part, so thank you very much for watching, and I will see you in the next.